All right. Man, we got cords and thread and all kinds of stuff.
Equipment everywhere.
Equipment everywhere.
Plenty of equipment.
Well, that's what the deal is, right?
Yeah.
We're doing workshop necessities.
We got them all.
Necessities.
Most of them, at least.
Yeah, yeah. We have quite the menu in store tonight for sure. So, cool. Well, it's been a little bit. A lot going on.
Yeah.
Some real world stuff, and but we are certainly back in the basement. Happy to be here for sure. What you been up to? Anything wild?
Not much. Just you know, trying to survive this Florida heat and of course,
Playing a little golf?
playing
Fishing?
a little golf. Not fishing too much, but yeah, that's about it. You know, like you said, we dodged a hurricane. Luckily, it minimal impact on Florida, but
man,
not everybody else was as fortunate. So.
No. You know, we've been thinking about all of our Bahamas friends and brothers and sisters. Everybody over there, we've got, especially in the fishing industry.
Right.
You know, we have a lot of colleagues and friends and customers, and I know everybody's got family and stuff over there. So, you know, I know it's been a pretty good response from the general public of getting stuff over there. So, you know, we're certainly participating in that. You know, taking donations here at the shop and getting some stuff over. So, big round of applause for everybody that's been doing that. So, cool.
Absolutely.
So, in the Mudhole Live Rod Builders Workshop, we're up to 2,000 people.
Wow.
2,000 people. So that's pretty wild. So, you know, I think that's a testament to everybody in that group, really.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, yes, you know, we started it, and of course the guys on the marketing team here, everybody put that together and everything that. But it's the group members, all 2,000 people, that make it such a good group. You know, everybody's really positive, good pictures. Everybody loves fish pictures and rod building pictures, and people are supportive, asking questions and all that. So, you know, I know you're in there some.
Yeah, well, it's cool because, you know, I check it every couple days, and, you know, the awesome part is you see beginning rod builders, you see, you know, intermediate, and then you see like the guys that are super experienced, and they post pictures, and you got this range of, you know, knowledge. And you got people just asking general questions. You know, I saw a guy that asked about, you know, hey, are you guys building any fly rods? And of course, you got people coming in, commenting.
Absolutely.
So it's a good place for not only for just getting started into rod building and have just the most basic questions. Don't be afraid to ask.
Yep.
And then you got the guys that are more experienced posting pictures of cool butt wraps and all kinds of cool stuff.
I mean, all the time I'm in there going,
Yeah.
I need to step my game up a little bit.
You're right.
Speaking of questions, Bruce has got one. What equipment would you recommend for someone brand new wanting to get into rod building but zero experience? Bruce, you're on the right show.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about what you're going to need, whether you want to get in with no experience or whether you want to get in and you already have a lot of experience. So I think on that note, it's probably time to dive right in. What do you say, boys? Y'all ready to get this thing going?
Let's do it.
Let's have at it.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission.
All right, Workshop Necessities. Did you see what it said there? Episode 43.
Wow. 43.
I can't believe Mom's let us use the basement for this long. This is pretty wild.
It is.
What were we looking at? When was the pilot? When did we look?
2016.
2016.
July.
In July. So,
Wow.
Holy moly, have we come a long way.
Over 3 years?
For those that saw the pilot.
Yeah. I'm not saying go back and look at those.
No, definitely not. But stay right here. This is, you know, the latest season here, season 3, is where you want to be because, you know, we got Nikki Mintz and Jay Bird running the 1s and 2s back there. Everything's been really good. And, of course, Taylor and Guffey and the guys in the back there slinging links and questions and stuff. So, all right. So, talking about equipment. Right, so we have a lot of options.
Tons of options. Yeah.
And it can at times, for the newbie, you know, maybe was a little daunting. And I think we've done a good job of creating kits, creating stuff that, you know, you can go on the website at mudhole.com and go, okay, what am I going to need? this is what I'm going to need.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I think even when you and I got started, I mean, of course, you've been in it longer than I have, but when I got in it, I still have my original hand wrapper. Got my original, you know, rod dryer, and I still use them. But I didn't have the kit like we got now. Right. You know, or all the rest of them. So, you know, tell us a little bit about those. I know you do a lot of work
you know,
with
back
those.
to Bruce's question, he asked, you know, what equipment do I need if I'm just starting up in rod building with no experience, basically. So we have startup kits. You know, we have our reliable FSB2 kit that we've had around for, you know, a long time now. And that's going to give you your hand wrapper, all your, you know, essential equipment, your rod dryer, some of your basic, you know, Pro Paste, Pro Glue, or not Pro, Pro Coat, all of your essentials to actually build a rod with. And you can take that kit, and what's cool is, with our RBS system, you can grow as you know, as your experience grows, so can your equipment.
For sure.
And all of these, you know, you can use together. You know, for instance, if you get a spine finder down the road, this spine finder actually mounts to your RBS track. So, you know, and the epoxy mixer, all the rod stands, and eventually down the road, if you get to where you really want to upgrade and go with like an RBS-Pro Power Wrapper, that mounts to the track as well. So the equipment that you start with, you know, the FSB2 kit doesn't have the RBS track. But if you get one of the RBS kits, you know, even the RBS Kit 1, that's your fundamental of your RBS system. That gives you your tracks to actually get started here, right? So all of this equipment actually adapts and will, you know, link up to your RBS track.
I mean, that's a great point. I think, you know, you got the regular HWS over there, regular hand wrapper?
Yeah, right here.
So, you know, just for those that start out, you know, with this and you get the extra stand, from there, and of course we're going to walk, you know, you guys through this stuff, but, you know, if you want that, you can then add a TC4 upgrade to it, which has now become the HWS2. So depending on if you already have this, now you want that, you can add that to this one. Or if you want to hang on to this one, or a lot of people in the rod building community, especially in the group, talk about how they take the HWS1 and they hand it down. They're giving it to a niece or a nephew or a kid or some of the, you know, maybe a local fisherman that's young that, you know, kind of bringing them along in the sport of fishing or in the rod building world. You know, so maybe pass that on, now buy your HWS2, or once you're done there, then you jump out here. And, you know, all of these items, whether it's your epoxy mixer or your spine finder, you know, you don't have to have the track, but that's the great thing about it, is you're never going to be left in the dark if you've bought an epoxy mixer, but now you got the track, and what am I going to do with that? And, you know, and so as you go through it, even if you jump in and buy the Power Wrapper, you can still use your HWS on this track. In the bottom of it, you know, there's areas to mount those roller bearings. So that's kind of what we're trying to walk through tonight. You know, we get a lot of questions of, do I have to buy that piece before this piece, or what happens if I buy that piece and then that one's going to start collecting dust, and that's not necessarily the case. So as we walk through that, we're going to show you a few demos. We're going to be doing a cork. What do we call this?
Restoration.
Cork restoration. That's right. I couldn't remember that word. So we all have the cork that gets used and well used, and everybody likes that fishing rod maybe that this half wells was on. So we're going to go through. We're going to show you how to fix this up a little bit and get it back to looking brand new. So we're going to do that. We're going to showcase the RBS Pro, showing how to sand that down. We're going to use, you know, some of the wood filler, and then I'm going to show you guys not the new, but kind of the new TC4 here. You know, we've got it, like I said, where you can put it on the hand wrapper, which now becomes an HWS2, or you can use it here on the track, slides up and down, runs it with the power head. We'll show you how to do a few little odds and ends with that, and answer your questions in the process. So, of course, we're doing giveaways.
We do have some great giveaways
as
tonight.
always. So it's going to be, the giveaways are going to be geared around the CRB equipment, and you know, try to touch on a few things that maybe everybody doesn't have at home yet, or you know, maybe those things that you've been wanting to buy and you're just, you know, thinking about it. Hunter's gonna put it on his credit card and send it to you.
You got it. Free of charge.
That's the man right there. All right, so let's get started. You want to talk about some handle restoration first?
Yeah, we can do that.
Is that what's on the docket tonight? We'll start there.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the two new carriages that we have, the TC4 for the RBS, which has the rolling, allows you to roll it on the track.
That's it.
And of course the TC4 for the hand wrapper, which is basically just an extension. So you have your existing hand wrapper right here. This has the 2-spool carriage with the tension rod. So switch over to the TC4. This is actually a 4-spool carriage, and you can see all it does is you remove the bottom threaded rod, slip over this post over the top of your existing hand wrapper. The thread rod goes back through, and all of a sudden you go from 2 spools to 4 spools. And later on the show, we're going to show you exactly why a 4-spool carriage is awesome to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, with that one, for those that like the tension rod, the tension rod can still be utilized with that TC4 on the hand wrapper.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
That's a good thing, especially a good kind of a transition, going from HWS1 tension rod and then coming over to the TC4 carriage here that doesn't have a tension rod there. So cool.
One more thing before we jump in. I know you're ready to do it.
No, come on.
We have some new metallic MHX blanks. And we have some over here.
They're right over there. What color you want?
Let's see.
They're to your left, and they're still in the bags, man.
Here?
Fresh in the bag and everything.
Oh, we got my favorite color too, actually.
Yeah?
Oh, let's see. Let's do that. So, we got now this is just 3 of the colors we have, but these are super, super sharp. I've got the smoke, the purple, and the light blue.
Well, which one's your favorite?
Light blue.
Oh man, that is a good one.
I like it.
I will say, that is a good one.
You know what's crazy is this purple. Oh, grabbing everything here.
Come on.
We got our zoom's kind of gone away there, but
okay.
Get a little zoom in on those guys. So as you can see, purple, light blue in the middle, smoke on the bottom, and hopefully you guys can see in the light. Oh yeah, they're showing up pretty good there. Yeah, check those out. And these are flashy colors. They're not just like a
They're
matte.
not muted.
They're not muted.
No.
These colors pop, especially in the sun.
For sure. So there's 14 colors and 14 models.
All together.
Telling you.
Of course, we had some existing metallic colors, but we added more, and we added more models. So
nice.
You guys check those out.
I'm going to get this tape dispenser and talk about this guy. So this guy, you have seen our 3-spool tape dispenser. We've got 2 options, okay? So we have one that can live on the track, and then we have one that can just sit on your workbench. So the good thing is this one can do both. So here on the bottom, we've got our 3 roller bearings. Those roller bearings will slide into this track. Now, one thing I want to clear up. When I say that this one slides into this track, okay, any of these items that have these roller bearings will slide into, and I'm talking this, I'm talking the TC4. If you take the HWS and you put your rollers in the bottom of it, it will also go on. I'm talking the CRB aluminum base station, this whole thing here. I'm also talking the Pack Bay one. I'm also talking the American Tackle one. And I'm also talking the Alps one. So they all have at least one track on this outside that will accommodate those rollers. So when I show you here, ours is a little different, the CRB one here. It's got a roller track here and a roller track here and then a center track here. So if you have the American Tackle one at home or the Alps one or the Pack Bay one, you notice the center track is really, really wide, but you still have a roller track on the inside or outside, depending on which way you like to run yours and turn it, right? So the good thing about that is, you know, you can not only take this RBS Pro Power Wrapper, you can buy the adapter. So you can take your American Tackle Power Wrapper, put this chuck on it, and then now you can transfer your 3 spool tape. You can transfer your HWS 1 or 2. You can transfer your TC4. Any of those items that's got your roller bearings on it will run right into the power wrapper from those different companies. And Russell, that's your question. That's your answer right there. With a 4-spool carriage work on the American Tackle Power Wrapper, it absolutely will, because as I showed you there, with the tape dispenser here on the bottom of the TC4, because this is actually under load a little more than the tape dispenser typically is, we're running 6 roller bearings on the bottom of this guy. So this is going to be very smooth, very secure on the bottom of the CRB aluminum base station, the American Tackle, the Pac Bay, the Alps. All of those will accommodate those right there. And with the 6 roller bearings, I'll show you in a little bit, you can slide that thing up and down. You can run this RBS Pro wide open. You can run 3 threads on it. You can run 4 on it. I mean, it's the deal. So that's the good thing, is your TC4 4-spool is not going to, you know, if you have some of those expensive items, because we know, you know, in the past, if somebody's got that American Tackle Power Wrapper, you don't want to just go, well, now what am I going to do with this thing?
Right.
You know, because that's a pretty good investment. So a lot of these items were not only built around our system, but we also took into account that you guys might want some of these, like the TC4, to go on your American Tackle, because that is a really nice 4-spool carriage.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Cool. All right. So let's talk about how to use the RBS Pro here when we're doing some of this handle restoration. So we know, of course, I'm trying to find a spot for that guy so I can get it. Going to be moving into a bigger studio soon.
Uh-oh.
Going to be a bigger studio soon. All right, so we've got a couple different options and issues that happen when you get your cork all boogered up, right? So this one we pulled off an old rod. It just, you know, a lot of guys wear a spot here if there's some filler or it's an older cork. You know, that's going to be your spot where your thumb ends up. You'll kind of bust it up there. Of course, some other options, you know, if you're in cold weather and it gets in there, it freezes, and just good solid wear and tear happens on this cork, right? So what I'm going to do is, I think I've got my other 1/4 inch. Okay, I do.
1/4 inch tape?
No, that 1/4 inch mandrel. I thought I had another one. I'll just run it on this one. So what we're going to do, and the great thing about the RBS Pro, and although, you know, we're kind of limited on space in here in the basement, so I kind of have to do it, I kind of have to ad-lib it, really. So if you were at your base station here, if you've got your RBS Pro, you're in your basement, you're in your garage, or on your, you know, wife's dining room table, which I wouldn't recommend doing, but, you know, work with what you got. So you can actually take your fly rod or your spinning rod or casting rod and chuck it into the RBS Pro. So if you've got, you know, your fighting butt, your reel seat on the end of a fly rod, just chuck that in, and you do not have to take cork off or replace it or do anything like that. But for the sake of, was that 1/2 inch tape? Go to the 1/8 inch. What in the world? I got it right here.
Okay.
So for the sake of TV and space, I'm just going to add a little here, and I'm going to chuck that in. So if you notice, we've got a lot of really, really open pits. We're getting this in here tight, boys. So we got a lot of open pits here in this cork. So we are going to use this Elmer's wood filler. So you can see there, that's pretty gnarly. Got a piece on here on the side, that's pretty gnarly. And just some other little odds and ends. So what we've got is we got this guy here, the Elmer's wood filler. We carry it here in the shop, and this is going to help fix all these things. You know, the good some guys want to take regular wood glue and they'll take, you know, sawdust, and they want to piece it and put it together. I applaud you for doing that. You know, that's one of those deals. It's like, hey, if you want to go that route,
Extra
you
mile.
can go that route. But the thing is this stuff, it doesn't shrink as bad. It dries very quickly. It's actually very, you know, it drinks hard. It dries hard, resists shrinking, cracking, and it's easy cleanup. So you don't have to get crazy with this. So this is going to be a deal where you're going to cut the end off, and you're actually just going to fill this. So if you got a heavy gouge, you're probably going to have to do this in multiple steps, okay? Because you don't want to get an air bubble in behind this. So you're going to fill that piece in, work it in there, and you can see it's going to leave a little bit of a divot there. Now on this smaller piece here, you can actually take a little bit, put it on your finger and work it in. I try to, you know, give it a little back and forth and then run a smear off, and you see that'll fill that in. And you just work your way around. You know, this one is a little bit deeper there. That one's probably going to take 2 fillings. These kind of smaller ones, maybe you just dinged it on a rock, or that's just wear and tear. You're just going to kind of slowly work that in. Don't go too hard, don't go too quickly. And you can see it, the color is actually pretty good. Another piece here, we're just going to work that in. You know, if anybody's done any tile work, you know, in the bathroom, you know, using caulk, using drywall work or stuff like that, you're going to be very, very good at this, because it requires a little bit of a touch, but just kind of make sure that you get it in there, work that in, and kind of just massage it into those gaps. So again, a really, really big gap like this is going to probably take more than one application. So what'll end up happening, I'm sorry, I'm working on this cold thing. I don't know, you know, what's going on here, but so the good thing is you can actually just take and kind of rub that off. It's easy cleanup. So once you've got that, this is, and I'll swap this over, and I'll show you what it's like cooking show style after she's dry. I did this just a few hours ago, so this is not something that takes all day or night to dry. And this is what you're going to get here. This was an old grip we had here in the shop that we used for demos for, you know, picking at it and pulling pieces out of it and whatnot. So you can see it's, you know, it kind of has its marks and scars, and I have filled those in using the Elmer's paste. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to put this here in. And again, for those that are just joining us, you know, if this was on a fly rod, a spinning rod, a casting rod, you don't have to remove it. You don't have to do that. You can work right on that rod with the RBS Pro. That's the great thing about it, is you can just chuck your fighting butt right in there. Make sure this gets centered. Got any questions coming in?
Yeah, Tom Marks, the chuck that Chris has there, will it fit my American Tackle Power Wrapper? So, yes, it will. I would advise you, though, don't buy just the RBS Pro. We actually have a separate Power Wrapper upgrade, a separate item that you can purchase, because the mount, the base mount that goes for our RBS Pro, just the normal RBS Pro, is going to be different. It's not going to fit your Power Wrapper. So the item number is RBS-Pro-PWU, Power Wrapper Upgrade. That's going to have a different mounting base that's going to allow you to actually put that on your Power Wrapper, and it fits perfect.
Yep. All right, so as we always say around here, safety first and then teamwork.
There you go.
So I'm just going to run off. This is 320. So this isn't, you know, really, really heavy grit because this does not need heavy grit. So and you can see there, that is about down. This would be probably one of those spots that was a little bit deeper. You might want to do another application there. But what I would do is I would come in here and wipe it with either some isopropyl alcohol or just some water, clean it up. But you can see that really, this one was actually worse than this one, and it's really gotten back to almost where you want it. There's a couple high spots on here, and there's also a couple gouges in there, but like I said, this is one of those you don't want to just glob too much in there because you'll end up pulling that chunk out. So you want to kind of go maybe 1 or 2 coats to make sure it dries and it's nice and tight in there. And outside of that, you're ready to just take it right back out fishing. Now, there was a question about
cork seal?
Cork seal. So tell them about that cork seal.
So Brian, what is the best item to seal cork, or should you not? You definitely should. You know, cork is a natural material. Over time, it's gonna, you know, wear and tear on your rod. You're out fishing, especially in saltwater. You know, it's gonna end up like Chris is earlier. You know, if you banged it around on the boat or the rocks, it's gonna, you know, a couple chunks might come out. So U40 makes a product called Cork Seal. It's a super, super easy, you know, material to apply to your cork grip. You can do it to a new cork grip that you just got.
Yep.
You can apply it to a cork grip that you just refinished. It's basically just going to seal that material, not let dirt, grime, all that junk, you know, penetrate your cork, and it's just going to, you know, provide a, you know, what am I trying to say here? It's
I really
gonna
know. A lasting seal.
Prolong the life of your cork grip. How
Yeah,
about that?
yeah, it really will. You're exactly right. I mean, that's what that stuff is designed to do. It's very easy to work with. It's not harmful or anything like that to you or the environment. And you can put it on with a brush or, you know, a paper towel or maybe a microfiber cloth, something like that. But, you know, you don't necessarily have to do it when you first buy the cork, but that's really the best time to do it. You could always take and clean the cork. If maybe you buy a secondhand rod or you fished it and you were like, oh man, I really probably should go back in and seal that.
Yep.
You can go in, clean it off, you know, with just some mild detergent like Dawn, something like that. Clean it off and then come back in and seal it. But the best time to seal it, if you're going to do it at all, is, you know, when you bring it home the first time or right after you build it.
Yep.
So, yep.
Yep. Dylan asks, is there any way to keep metallic thread from having multiple layers unwind, similar to a bait caster after a rough cast? So, Dylan, metallic thread is, since it's actually several material or several strands, you know, woven together, it does have a tendency to unwind, which is a big pain. So, what we recommend is, obviously for very long wraps or guide wraps, butt wraps, you kind of want to stay away from metallic. There are a few exceptions, you know, or you can use more of a premium style metallic, like our Pro FX thread. It's got like a tighter wind to it, so it doesn't want to like unravel, you know, as bad. What do you got? You got anything for that?
Now, and yeah, I mean, those are all, you know, great points. If you are still just using the metallic Pro Wrap, if you notice on the outside of these spools, there is a cap, okay? So that actually comes off. And when you notice, when you buy it, the thread is actually tucked in to these little, they're kind of retainers, I guess. So if you are working with this metallic, because it's just like anything else, yes, you know, that's going to want to unwind a little bit, maybe give you like a little bit of an overrun, but whether you're in like a TC4 or whether you're just working with it, you know, maybe in your hand if you're doing a tiger wrap, sometimes, you know, you're using multiple threads, just take it, and I'll take it and cut it off and just tuck it right into that retainer. So then that will keep it from, it'll keep it from going anywhere, because it you know, you just work it right here into this little groove. So if you do take it and store it, just take it and come around and just work it right down into that retainer. You only got to go around it like a little bit, and you can just cut it off and it'll hold it. So that's a good way to store it. But if you're looking for one that's a little bit easier to wrap and stuff, I would definitely, you know, this is that Electra.
Electra, yeah.
The Electra has a little bit different feel to it. It has more of a thread feel, whereas the Pro Wrap regular metallic has more of a, I don't know, it definitely has more of a metallic feel. Mm-hmm. But you know, they both have their place. They just feel a little bit different in hand and on the rod. So those are an option. But all these spools, all the Pro Wrap stuff, whether it's this metallic, the Electra, all these are going to have those little tiny retainers on the outside. So if you haven't noticed that, or you haven't popped them off, use that to tuck it in, and that's what I do to store it at least. Absolutely. So that'll keep it from giving you a, you know, like a bait cast, like an overrun.
Jake Crosby's got 2 questions here. Is the tape arbor required or just work better? Is that like tape arbors in general, or? Well,
since you're not a tape arbor guy.
I feel like we talk about this every show.
We do, because it's an important topic.
So if we're doing the big debate, tape arbors versus like graphite or polyurethane arbors. Uh-huh. I like the polyurethane or the graphite arbors. Chris likes the tape arbors. Mm-hmm. Both work. Personal preference. Yep. Are they required? For sure, especially if you're doing, you know, maybe a barrel spinning seat. You know, you're gonna have to use a couple arbors in there, or one full arbor. It depends on what you're working with. You know, I don't know if maybe we were talking about the mandrels a few minutes ago. Not sure exactly what you're talking about, Jake, but maybe a little more specific.
But remember, you know, an arbor is just there to center whatever it is. So whether it's to center the reel seat onto a blank that it doesn't fit snug on, or center a grip, or just to center this mandrel inside of this chuck, you know, it's whether it's graphite, polyurethane, or tape, it's just there to center it. So yeah, they can be required at times, but either one actually works just as well as the other. So,
his second question: does the U40 cork seal, does that change the feel of the cork? I don't have too much experience with it. I'll let you go over, but I would say no. It's not a very really thick material. You know, it doesn't leave like a big coating on there or anything. Yeah. It's fairly thin, right? It goes on pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that something is there, but it's not like finish. Like if you were to put a coat of Pro Coat on the cork, yeah, that's like, well,
right.
That's, you know, you're completely getting rid of the whole feel of the cork. The U40 doesn't get rid of the feel of the cork. It's almost like, you know, on the outside of your car, if you put a coat of wax on it, it's still the metal or the paint in the car. It doesn't feel sticky or tacky or like there's a coating, but yes, it's not going to make it slick like if you waxed your car, but there is like a different feel to it, but it doesn't not feel like cork, if that makes sense. I mean, there's definitely something there. So
okay, so yeah, Jake said he meant the mandrel for the grip turning, and so I would say, you know, in that instance, yes, it was necessary, just enough, a little bit of tape to where you can get a nice tight, you know.
Yeah, it just bites better.
Yeah, bites down with your chuck. That's all it really needs.
Yeah, that's it. It just needed if you put this, you can just put this in here and let it go, but you know, if you're pressing on it too hard, or if you're trying to like really work on something, it might not catch. This is the small one. Mm-hmm. So this is the 1/4 inch. That's why I put the tape on it. You know, if you had the larger arbor, mandrel in here, you probably would not need to put the tape. I just did it because, you know, it's just a 1/4 inch one. So, yep. So that's that. I think we need to give something away.
Okay.
What do you want to give away?
I
think we're doing.
What do we got here? Get my cheat sheet.
Yeah, right. Because we were going to give.
Tape dispenser.
We're going to give the tape dispenser away, and we're going to give that to Richard.
You're going to throw it over to me? I knew that was coming. Ramage?
Ramage? Richard Ramage.
Ramage.
That's what I was going to go with, but you know, it's kind of one of those.
Ramage.
No, it doesn't have a little, you know, over the top.
We're just kidding, Richard.
Yeah. We're just trying to have a little fun here. So, anyway, Richard, we're gonna send you this bad boy here. So that is going to be a triple tape dispenser, and that is going to come with the rollers. That is going to slide into your, if you've got an RBS base track or an American Tackle or an Alps or a Pack Bay. So, yes, that's the deal. Michael Smith, can you use color fast on the cork? I'm assuming that he's talking about something like Pro Seal. You can. I wouldn't do it. It's not the same. You know, I don't know. It just, I know what both are made out of, and they're not the same. So they're just not the same. So that's the only thing. It's just not the same product. And I don't think the longevity is there with something like a Pro Seal. You know, it's great for what it's for, but I don't think it's not going to be as durable with the wear and tear that your hand is going to put on the cork.
Yeah.
So I would use the U40 cork seal.
Yeah, the thread sealer or the Pro Seal that we're referring to, it's mostly made up of like a glue material, like a watered down glue material, you know?
Yep.
So it might leave your cork grip a little hazy, discolored, kind of white. Yeah, just use the cork seal. It's made for the cork grip, so.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Let's talk about reaming a cork handle.
Ooh.
So, large inner diameter cork handle out to 7/8. Larry Mann's got a question about that. You know, for me, I'm going to be using those reverse taper bits. You know, we've talked about those. Did we have those? One of those from last show?
I don't see one. It's the Flex Coat. You got one of the long ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, that's a 3/8. So we have them in probably what, 4 sizes?
At least 4, maybe
A 5th size?
5 or 6.
Okay. So the deal with that is it looks just like your regular spade bit that you're going to use for woodworking or other things like that, but it does have a reverse cut in it. So what you're going to actually do with this is you're going to take this and thread this into a cork grip. And it's a tight fit. So you're going to take and thread this into a cork grip, and you're going to chuck it into the drill, and you're actually going to pull this through here, and it's going to cut a 3/8 hole into this cork grip. So you're not going to have to constantly ream with with your extreme reamer, and then you get your hole kind of off center and all that, because that is, if you're taking something from 1/4 inch out to 7/8 with just the extreme reamer, yeah, it can be tough. I'm not gonna lie to you, it can be a little tough. But those reverse cut bits there, that will at least get you out close to that, and then from there you'll just work your extreme reamer in the largest size, and you know, you'll kind of work around the outside of that. That will get you out to the 7/8.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's
Let's
it.
do one more question, and then we'll get to
All right, let me put this back down here.
the next demo.
Yep.
Matt Fletcher, how do I get a smooth coat of Pro Coat? More, say, a diamond wrap so that you can't fill the blank areas.
That would be multiple.
Yeah,
coats.
multiple thin coats. Sorry, I was having to reread that question.
Yeah.
So yeah, instead of doing maybe 1 or 2 thicker coats of epoxy, try doing, say, 3, maybe even 4 thin coats of epoxy.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe even if you're using a high build, try a light or just the standard Pro Coat that we sell, which is more of like a medium build. It's going to be a thinner viscosity. You can apply it, you know, thin coats over your butt wrap, and that's going to allow you to cover up all these little spots in between your butt wrap.
Yeah, so see here what we've got with this butt wrap. What he was asking was, how do you maintain, you know, the outer level of finish without it, you know, being a high spot here, being a low spot, being a high spot, being a low spot, like that. And, you know, like we suggested, I would make sure to come in with a thin coat first that's going to cover your blank, and then also it's going to saturate into your thread, into your braid, especially because you have multiple materials here. You know, you have a nylon or a color fast in here, you have a metallic braid in here, so they all absorb at different rates, right? Mm-hmm. So you kind of want to come through, put in a really, really thin layer, and then from there you're almost back to level already, and then you're going to come in with multiple other coats on top of that. And since it's, you know, self-leveling out, that's what's going to get you that kind of desired level finish that you want. So Troy's asking, can you add color dye to U40? I have no idea.
U40, are we talking?
Oh yeah, are we talking cork seal or are we talking
rod finish or thread
rod
finish?
bond, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Troy, a little more specific on what we're using?
Because you can tint, if it's the finish or the epoxy, you could tint that. Yeah. I don't think you can tint, I don't know why you'd want to, but yeah, I don't know if you can tint the
cork seal. That'd be a tough one.
That would.
You might want, if you do try it on an experimental piece of cork.
Yeah, right.
Don't do it on your brand new Sage flat rod.
Boogered up.
Cork seal, he said. You got us on that one, Troy. I would.
And I don't know what kind of dye you would use. I mean, you know, for finish and for the epoxy, like bond version of that, you're just going to use the CRB pigments. Mm-hmm. You know, and a little goes a long way with both of those. But I don't think you can do that. So
that's tough.
Cool. All right.
Let's move on.
What you got?
Well, let's talk about
some epoxy.
Talk about some epoxy.
Let's do it.
So we talked about in the beginning, we have all of these cool attachments, equipment for our RBS system, and one of them is the epoxy mixer.
Here, yeah, give me this guy.
Get out of here.
Yep.
So this one is pretty cool because it, of course, attaches to your RBS system. I'm going to plug it in real quick. So what's cool about this epoxy mixer is not only does it, you plug it in, it keeps spinning, of course. Not only does it give you a perfect finish, you know, biggest thing I think that people have trouble with in rod building is not really thread work or anything like that, but their finish, you know. Yep. And it all comes down to mixing it properly. This epoxy mixer, if you mix up your finish in the cup, put it in the epoxy mixer, let it spin for 5 minutes, it will give you a perfectly mixed finish every single time. You don't have to worry about it. And not only is it mixing by itself, so you can have it set off on your workbench alone, you can put your cup in there, walk away, get your rod set up, you know, make sure there's no dust in your thread wraps.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah. You have time, you know, especially if you're coming home, maybe you worked all day, your time's limited, you got to make dinner later.
Sure.
It's going to save you time. You don't sit there and stir and stir and stir.
You're not going to waste 5-8 minutes mixing epoxy.
Allows you to move on and do something else.
Yep.
So that's why I love the epoxy mixer. Saves you time. You can do something else while it's over there doing its thing. For sure.
And also, you know, we've got to kind of help automate / speed up the process. We've got some finish working in the warmer.
Yep.
Right?
Which I have over here.
Yeah, there you go.
Space is a little limited, so.
Yep.
So our bottle warmer here, you know, especially since we're getting into wintertime for most people, not really us in Florida yet. We got a couple, 3 more months. Probably.
Forever, right?
So for you guys that do live up north or in the colder climates, this bottle warmer is really, really cool because, you know, sometimes these finishes do like to crystallize a little bit, whether it be in shipping, whether it be wherever you're storing it, you know, it does crystallize a little bit. So to break that up, to actually allow this epoxy to thin out, drop your bottles in the bottle warmer. It's going to heat up your epoxy, not to like a boiling level,
no,
but just enough to thin it out. That way, when you do go to work with it, you're going to have a little bit more extended time. It's going to be easier to work with, and just a better overall experience.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of guys, so like you said, you know, we get a lot of finish questions, we get a lot of epoxy questions, and I think, you know, between the epoxy mixer and the bottle warmer, it's going to help eliminate those issues because one, it's going to be one of those deals where you either haven't mixed it thorough enough, okay, or it's going to be one of those deals where the epoxy is not, it's not warm enough to properly mix, right? So you've got, I didn't see that last note that came across on the board, but yeah, so what ends up happening is the epoxy either doesn't get mixed well enough because you're not mixing long enough, or the epoxy doesn't get mixed well enough because it's too cold.
Right.
So, you know, we have a CRB temperature gauge that, you know, a lot of people actually will just stick on their workshop bench, and that gives you kind of the optimal level. You know, we call it room temperature of just 72 degrees. That's kind of a common, but anywhere in that 70 to 80 type temperature range is where you want to be. And unfortunately, we understand that a lot of people that live up north that work in their basement or their garage don't have the ability to bring that temperature up. So, you know, using the bottle warmer to get that epoxy where it needs to be properly mixed, and then bringing in an item like the CRB tent or the mini heater that will fit over this entire track system.
Yep.
That's really going to allow you to still maintain your workshop in your basement or your garage, even in the colder months, and make sure everything gets, you know, properly cured out, because, you know, epoxy can be finicky, and that's all epoxies really, you know, and especially rod finish. Any of the brands are going to be a little temperature sensitive.
Temperature can be your best friend or your worst friend, depending on cold or hot.
And Chris has got a question there. Since we're talking about CRB epoxy, and I'm assuming he's talking about finish, talking about shelf life, I don't like to keep it around. Well, I don't really, you know, I use it up before it makes it to that 10-month, 1-year mark, because I don't buy the big ones. You know, I'm usually buying like a PK8, and I'm going through it every, you know, 6 months or so. So that's a situation where I don't make it to that kind of end of the lifespan. But we do get a lot of questions if it does start to get an amber tint to it, and if you do feel like it's starting to get to the end of its life, and if you know, the hardener has a little bit too much of an amber tint for your liking, mix a batch just like you would put on your rod, but leave it in the mixing cup and let it cure out, and you'll be surprised. Most of the time it will cure properly and it will clear itself. Now, if it doesn't, then you haven't ruined your rod. You know, give us a call, jump on mudhole.com and order you up some more, because then it has reached the end of its shelf life. But I would start looking at it hard about 10 months to a year. I really don't like to let any, I mean, whether you're talking JB Weld or 5-minute epoxy for something, once it starts getting 10 months, 12 months old, I'm pretty leery about it, because it, you know, it does require that chemical reaction there. So
Ray Morris asks, can you use the mixer for 5-minute epoxy, or is it just for rod finish? So for what we typically use the epoxy mixer for is just for your thread finish. If you're using a 5-minute epoxy, you know, like a pro glue style,
right,
that type of glue does not require as much attention or, you know, perfection almost as like thread finish does.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Your two ratios don't have to be exact or precise as thread finish, and it doesn't have to be as mixed as long. You know, if you put your 5-minute epoxy in here and leave it for a couple minutes, and then you go back to use it, it's already going to be setting up. So I would just mix it, you know, whether it be in one of the foil dishes, piece of cardboard, mix it by hand for a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes at the most.
Yep.
And then do your repair or whatever you need to do, and move on.
Yeah, I wouldn't waste my time putting it in the epoxy mixer, because you might put it in there and go to do something and turn around and come back and realize that your weight is epoxied into the bottom of that thing, especially with that, you know, the 5-minute stuff. I mean, you certainly can't do it with the paste epoxy. If you try to do it with Pro Glue, I've used the quicker set Pro Glue stuff, and it's
fast.
It'll set up on you real quick. So about the time you get that weight in there, it'll turn over 1 or 2 times, and you'll be calling us to have to buy a new weight. So don't worry about it there. So yeah. So you got that. Why don't you go ahead and mix some up? I'll get this thing working. You want to give one away? Let's give one away.
Let's give both of them away.
Okay, we'll give both of them away. We're going to do a bottle warmer and epoxy mixer, and give us a little scroll up there. His name kind of worked to the bottom. Let's see there. Hunter, give that away. Who you got for a runner-up?
Oh, all right, runner-up, Gary Gayer.
That a boy?
All right, Gary.
Old Gare coming through.
You get the epoxy mixer and bottle warmer.
And bottle warmer. Fantastic.
And that's the runner-up prize. We still have a grand prize to give away.
Still got the big boy coming up. All right, so Hunter's going to put that together. He's got his self-sealing caps in there. That, I think I only turned it to about 100. I would never really recommend taking that thing and turning that dial, you know. Here, you want to slide this over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. We just don't want to.
We got a lot going on.
We just don't want to hide your pretty face behind that bottle warmer.
Appreciate it.
So that dial, I think, it says it goes up to 200. You don't need to do that. Actually, would you go ahead and turn that off?
Sure.
Since we're not going to need that.
So I think that was one of the questions up there. I don't know if you were getting to it or not there.
Yes,
but,
I was.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I thought you were gonna give us some.
Mike asked, how long does it take for the bottle warmer to warm up?
It's actually pretty quick. I mean, I would say I pulled tap water out and put it at about 120, and the light turns off, right? So you have one of those deals where you turn it on, the light kicks on, and when the water reaches the temperature, then the light turns off. So it'll maintain that temperature, and then when it drops back down, it'll kick back on. So I would say, as I was setting up in here, I'd say maybe 10 minutes. It went from tap water to like 115 or so. What you need, bud?
Little stir stick.
Right here.
Oh, I missed them. Thank you.
You're good, man. So, yeah, it's not one of those deals where it's going to take you an hour to do it. So, and that's kind of why we're showing this here. You know, if you put that in there, and maybe let's say you got a blank now, we're going to chuck one in here, and then we'll do a few thread wraps and come back to it. You know, between epoxy going in there, he'll kind of do a little pre-mix. You can actually put 2 doses in there probably, because, you know, when you drop the weight in. That also, what size cup is that? Is that the 1 ounce?
This is the one, I believe. Yeah.
Okay, so we had this question the other day too. The epoxy mixer holds the 1 ounce and
2.5.
the 2.5. So, and there's a roll of paper towels down there I put in if you need it. So that's the good thing about that deal. So let's talk about the RBS Pro and how we're going to utilize that real quick. We'll go ahead and move right along. Let's see. Do we have any? What's the approximate longest time you can leave in the epoxy mixture? Cindy, I would say two thoughts behind this, and you got me thinking about this. So, one, I would probably leave it in there when I'm getting all my finished stuff up, if you don't have a workshop that has a wrapper and then a finishing station and then all that. So that'll take you probably about 5 to 8 minutes maybe. You know, get your dryer out, get your rod, make sure the guides are lined up, get it chucked in the RDS, kind of get everything ready. You know, I trim the brushes a little bit. So 5 to 8 minutes, you're ready to rock coming out of that. Now, remember, if we're doing finish over decals. So let's say 5 to 8 minutes, you do the whole rod, done. Okay, come back, we're gonna put finish over decals. I'm probably gonna leave that running for 15 minutes before I put it over decals, just because the chemical reaction that goes on with that finish, I don't like putting what I don't know if I call it, if I picked it up from somebody else, but we call hot finish, that finishes like just out of there. It's not like it's real hot in your hand, but call hot finish and go over a decal, because if maybe one edge of the decal is not like perfectly sealed and stuff, it's just one of those deals where it'll lift that edge of that decal. So don't want to do that. What else we got?
Ralph, how many times can you heat your product without affecting the outcome? Well, I don't know of a certain number.
No,
but
if you stay low, you know, if you keep the heat low, I haven't seen it affect it. And you know, we reuse these bottles a lot, you know, where we like use them on the show. We don't just pull new PK8s off every time. And we've been doing it a pretty good while. We'll heat it up to about 100, 115, let it go, or it'll sit in the warehouse a little bit, bring it back in here, do that. So I haven't had an issue, and we've used it up before we've seen it have an issue. So if you're running it up real high, yeah, I could bet that, you know, you're going to have an issue. But if you've got a situation where it's in a really cold temperature and you're getting some little crystals in there, and you just put it in the microwave for like 2 seconds at a time, and you do like 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. If you don't have the bottle warmer, I mean, I've seen guys do it for
a long time,
you know, a while.
Over and over and over.
Yeah, over and over, and they use it up, and then they're good. So that's probably one of those deals. What you get, Johnny, there?
Yeah. So Johnny, what's a good way to get dust out, especially if you have a rod that sits for a few days? So the first thing I would recommend, the CRB tent. So the tent or the drying tent goes over your entire. If you have an RBS track with the system, goes over your entire section, even if you have up to what, 8 foot.
Yeah, it goes over this whole track.
Yeah, the whole track. So what you can do is get your rod, chuck it up into the you know, your dryer or the RBS Pro, put it in your stands, put the tent over that. No dust will get in there except for anything else that, you know, could be trapped in.
Yep.
Now, what you want to do though, what I recommend is, if when you go to actually finish that rod, take one of your brushes and just go for each thread wrap, just take your brush and kind of lightly dust it off. Usually if there's any lint still on that thread wrap, that brush will kind of almost do a static, you know, charge and stick to it.
Yes.
And then either discard that brush or make sure you clean it before you actually do your finishing, and that should be pretty good. And speaking of.
So for those that haven't seen the tent, although we've had limited space in here, we were able to bring one down. There you go. So now, just a quick visual of what the tent looks like. For those, obviously it fits easily over the power head. It fits easily over all of these attachments. You can actually put a tri-dryer inside of here, so you can dry 3 rods at one time on your aluminum base station track. It fits the whole length of it, and the tent covers it. You know, your heater can go in there. You can put this on there. You know, if you got a cat at home that likes to get up on your workbench, if you do have a dusty environment, things like that. Nikki, I'm gonna give this back to you. Thank you, sir, for the visual. Appreciate it. Tent's always been a big help. It's been a big seller here. I know everybody up north likes it. And that is a good point. If you've got that, a good way to get, I like it, because you gave them a preventative and you gave them the way to get it out. And I've got a couple preventative and a way to get it out. Okay. Preventative for me is I hang on to the sleeve that the blank came in. So just like, you know, you get you a metallic blank in, you got this guy. As long as you don't have really high frame guides on here, you can get a casting rod back in this. So if I know that I'm not going to be finishing it for a couple days, or let's say, you know, I get blindsided because the wife wants to go out of town, or you gotta go see your mother-in-law or something, you know, wrap it up.
Oh.
Yeah, right? Oh, come on, everybody can attest to that. So anyway, you wrap it up and you're ready to finish, and it's like, hey, we're going out of town. Hey, cool. So still got my sleeve, put it in the sleeve, set it aside, It's going to keep it out. Now, if you forget and you get home, I have the little aerosol can of air,
yeah, there you go.
know, the little air can. So what I do is I'll put it out, get ready to dry. I'll turn the dryer on and then let it roll around and kind of give it another once over. You know, I always like to give it another once over if one of my tag-ins looks bad or, you know, something doesn't look right, and then I'll just go down it, make sure everything's ready to rock. And most of the time for me, it's been pretty good. But
Cool.
then again, it's hard to see dust when you have black thread and black guides.
That's true.
You're not fancy. So, all right, cool. So we got some finish, mixing. Let's talk about the TC4. So when you get the TC4 for your aluminum base station, it's going to come very simply like this in a box, okay? You got 2 pieces, that's it. We already have your thread carriages, we've got your retainers, your spacers, your springs, your precision knobs here on the outside that'll help you dial in that tension properly. All of that is going to be exactly how you want it set up to fit your spools. Keep in mind, this will run not only, here is the Fishhawk, that's your medium spool there. You've got Fishhawk smalls there, you got Glow Wrap, you got Pro Wrap. All of those smalls and mediums are going to fit in here. The only difference is you're going to pull out this one spacer. So you'll see all the spacers are on here. All you got to do is drop that spacer out, and you'll see here on the bottom thread carriage, there's no spacers. So you've just got a knob with a washer, your thread retainer, your spool, your washer, your spring, and then another washer there. That's going to keep everything ready to rock. So if you start having to disassemble this a little bit, you know, and you don't take them all off at the same time, you kind of have 3 other cheat sheets there if you forget how this stuff is supposed to go. And if you really forget, just give us a call. We'll walk you through it, but it's very easy. If you buy this TC4, you're going to get this top thread carriage. You're going to get the base with the rollers on the bottom. And I actually have, you can see here, these screws they don't come like this, but the magnets do come set in. You're going to get 2 small screws. You'll see there's a tray here. Your thread eyes are going to be there. What we're going to do is this slot here in the back, you can see it's got holes in it. That's where those screws are going to go. This is just going to slide right in, nice and easy. You're going to turn it over. You're going to put a screw in this one. Just a simple Phillips head. It's a smaller one, you know, not a, put it right there. You don't need a power tool for this, so don't worry about that. Just a simple Phillips head is going to come right in here. Those will seat right in, and again, there's the bottom with your 6 rollers ready to rock. All you got to do is pick your favorite Pro Wrap or Fishhawk thread, load her up, and here we go. So I've got a couple color fast spools there. I got a metallic hunter. I'll show you what you do with that here in a minute. Then what you'll do is you'll just walk each one of these right in. We're ready to rock.
Cool.
Okay. So the good thing about this, I'm not going to get too involved with showing you how to wrap, because you know, I know a lot of you, whether you're just starting out, you know, watching some videos, you're getting there. And I don't want to show you this is exactly how you have to wrap, because everybody likes to do it a little different. I'm just going to give you a couple little tips and tricks, how I use this, how I start my thread wraps, and then from there I'm not going to bore you with running, you know, a 14-inch butt wrap across the bottom of this thing. So the good thing about this, let me give you pro tip number 1. This center eye here, I leave this center eye to where it has a little bit of play in it. Play is the wrong word. It's just, it's not locked, okay? So it's not easy to turn, but it will turn. The reason for this is, and I'll show you here. So we've got the white color fast coming off there. If you want to, whoops, if you want to run it through there, okay, great. Now let's say you're going to do 2 colors at one time. which can be done. We're going to run this red off here. Now we're going to meet in the middle. If you notice, there's a gap here. See that V? Can you see that, Nick? Okay. So if you notice, there's a gap between these two threads. This gap, it will translate here, and it just won't want to wrap right. Okay? But the reason that this eye in the center is movable is because if, depending on where the thread is coming from or how you want it to stack, I rotate this eye, okay? And now it brings those threads together and keeps them separate at the same time, okay? So just so you guys can see that, I'm going to walk this on here and I'm going to leave it very, very spaced out so you can see how it will walk those together, and you can see they're tight, okay? That's because you're leaving this with an angle, okay? So if you're going that way, tilt it. You can run 3 through here if you want to do a tiger wrap like we've done in the past. Just be careful, go slow if you're going to do multiple threads like that. Now, if you're going to use it just for your single threads, you can leave that thread down here, grab your red, run it up here. Let me cut this off. Went around one too many times. So you'll pull your red up. I like to go around twice like that, pinch her down, and now you're ready to rock and get her going, okay? So then you'll cut that tag. Let's say, okay, now pull the tag off that you just wanted, do 1 or 2 there, cut it, put it through your loop. Now all you have to do is pick up the white from right here, and now we're starting to go with the white. So that's one of those things that it's going to cut your time down. It's going to keep your messes kind of contained because, you know, let's be honest, if we're running the, you know, the older school way, it's very effective, but it doesn't keep everything separate as nice as this does. So it does have actually 5 eyelets to keep your thread together. The good thing is as you switch here, if you want to run them together, run it through the middle, or, and I don't know if Hunter's going to do it or not, but the way I do it is if I run a single off this top, I'll just jump out here all the way to the outside because I don't need to run it over here to the center, and I'm just going to use the metallic, running around here, straighten her out, tighten her down, and then run from that, and you can just go there. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't remember the name earlier, but if you just need to cut that, you know, that will help contain it in that eye. And then wrap your guide. You want to do a trim band, just pull it up, and now we're here, we're good, we're ready, the tension's already dialed in, and you're wrapping it. So there's not constant changing. Where did that spool go? Is it over here? Then you pick it up, and you got a 20-foot, you know, bird's nest coming off there. So that's the good thing about this TC4 is it helps you figure out the way that is best for you to wrap. You know, depending on how you want to organize everything, you know, there's magnets here because nobody wants razor blades falling around. We got a tray here for your guides. So everything gets contained in this one little area because we've all been there where it's like, where did that size 5 go? You know, if it's right there in the middle, you got a razor blade. Now you're more efficient. Yep. So, cool. What do you think about that?
Awesome.
How about it?
We got one small little quick demo to do, and then we'll probably have some questions and we'll wrap it up.
How about it? You're going to show them how to do a
dragon scale.
The cheat?
I don't think we talked to. We've hinted at it a few times here and there, but we've really never done one. I don't think.
Yeah, we haven't, and that's well, we've touched on it, but you know, I think this would be a good time to do it, and I know that you know, we've got a little time left. I know we're running a little late, but
let me get this.
The guys are here rolling their eyes like, what's the deal?
In the meantime, while I'm getting set up.
Yeah, I'm going to get Bob's question here. How many ounces of epoxy should I expect to use per rod? Now, Bob, that's a question we get a lot, and let me walk you through the long version of the answer. So, if you're building a regular spinning rod, 7 foot, medium light, medium, you're going to bass fish with it, you're going to fish inshore with it, you're doing just a guide wrap, maybe a little over a decal and a split grip. Nothing crazy. Let me show you one here. Something like this. This is going to be your CRB IS 701. You know, we've got a little bit here. We've got a little over the decal, and we've got regular guide wraps out that way. You know, it's got a 2500 size reel on it. If you're building stuff like this, or the casting version of this, you're not going to need more than what I draw out is 3 mLs of resin and 3 mLs of hardener. Now, so you got 6 mLs. Now all you got to do is do that conversion out, because I don't remember. I did that the other day on how many ounces that is, and I got to tell you, I don't remember it. But out of, you know, your PK2 or a PK4 or even your 24 ml, think about it. If you're buying an FSB2 and you want to build a couple fishing rods, you've never done it before, you know you're going to build your light inshore, a couple bass rods, you're not going to get crazy with it. And if you have the 24 ml pack of finish that comes in your FSB2, that's going to be 6 mLs is 0.2 fluid ounces. Okay, so you're going to be using 0.2 fluid ounces for your 6 ml. So again, sorry to confuse you there, but if you're going to pull 6 mLs out of that 24 ml, technically you could get 4 rods out of that. I wouldn't bank on that. I would bank on 3. Then that leaves you a little bit of fudge factor there in case you go a little over or whatever. But, so if you've got an FSB2 or you get a turn, there it goes. Puberty hits at the weirdest times. So let's say you get your FSB2 with your turnkey rod kit. You got a 24 ml of your finish in there. You're going to be able to do 3, okay? That's what I would conservatively say. I've never used more than 6 mLs, so 3 and 3 together. Never use more than 6 mLs on a bass rod, on a fly rod, on a light inshore rod. Now, if you're building something offshore and you got under wraps and over wraps and big long butt wraps and all that, you better make sure you got plenty, because you're probably going to need double. Yeah. But if you're building a bass rod, a crappie rod, a fly rod, you don't go crazy on the thread wraps and you're just doing a little of that, look at 3 mLs and 3 mLs of each, 6, boom, and you're done. Good?
Cool. Yeah.
You ready for me to?
Let's do this. And Rob Benson has a good question too. We'll get to that in just a minute.
You gonna do it on this? You gonna do it on that?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna show this
okay.
first,
My bad.
and then I might show the thread or just talk about it. But
okay.
So the Dragon scales, and this is the fast, easy, simple, cheap way to do it. So what we have here is our mesh tape. We sell this on the website.
Mesh tape. Mesh tape.
Wesh tape.
No.
Mesh tape.
Mesh tape.
Mesh tape. As you can see, it's a huge roll. This will last you a very, very, very long time. So what I've done is pulled off a strip here about, what's that, maybe a foot or so. Mm-hmm. What I've done is, you'll notice, I've got a good close zoom up there. I'll try to keep it still for you. The outer edge is what I'll call the open end. So you can see these little strands are poking out of the side, right? That's on both sides. In the middle, you've got these little squares. So what I like to do is, I've cut a little strip here in the middle, and I've cut along each border, right? So I've got now closed ends. So all these little squares. I did mess up there just a little bit and kind of opened up one box, but no big deal. So, and I know there's multiple ways to do this. You can do them, you know, all closed, or you can have both ends have little pieces sticking out. Mm-hmm. It's going to kind of change your pattern up just a little bit, and you'll see that in just a minute. So once I've got the length strip I want, I'm going to cut this off. And of course, the longer strip you do, or the wider strip, the longer your Dragon scale is going to be.
Right.
So,
and of course, a lot of the times guys are doing these in a split grip or above a foregrip, or you're not technically doing this like where a guide wrap is.
Right.
So, you know, it's going to be determined on how long your space in the butt wrap's going to be, or how high you want it to run up like that. And that, you know, kind of mileage may vary there depending on how long this needs to be for you.
Yep. So I do have this is a short piece here. So say we are doing, you know, a small split grip section. So what I'm going to do is, like I said earlier, I've got closed ends on both sides, and you're not going to be wrapping this, you know, straight all around. You're actually going to be going at an angle. So let's go about right here. So I'm going to press this down, get a nice little starting area here, wrap that end over, and let's see here. Let's actually go with this way. As I wrap around, when I get to my first edge over here that I press down, you can either, like I said, depending on the pattern, you can try to line up your marks so the boxes actually align, or what I'm trying to do is offset them just a little bit. I'll get it just a second. There we go.
Yeah, and you just have to play with it a little bit, flex the tape a little bit, and then from there you're just going to walk it around.
And as you do that, you can see it's starting to set up that pattern. And it's, you know, it's kind of like the tiger wraps in a sense that you can make each one differ a little bit in each pattern.
And it'd be hard to copy the exact same every time.
So I did that one a little quick. Not all the edges line up just perfectly, but you guys kind of get the idea there. So when you do have the closed edges on both sides, you can make these line up perfectly, right? When you have the little tag ends on one side or the other, that's kind of where your different patterns will come in, because you can make them either line up with the existing sections, you know, on each side, or you can kind of like put them in the middle. You know, you can put one of the small strands in the middle of one of those boxes. So, ones we did earlier, you can see here, so on my right side, this one right here, the edges line up perfectly. So all of your lines, all of these segments line up perfectly. That's going to give you almost symmetrical boxes, right? On this side, we did kind of the same thing, but they're kind of crisscrossed almost. So you have a different pattern there. And visual number 2, that's kind of the end result of what you're going to get.
And that's going to jump into Rob's question there where he's talking. He said he used black thread.
So black thread I would kind of advise against, because black's not a very vibrant color. You know, it's dark. You're not going to be able to actually get these small lines, this pattern to actually pop.
Yep.
So this is one of the few cases where we will come in with a metallic color and actually do the full wrap with.
Yeah. Now, if you wanted to use something like black and you use black metallic, that probably would have shown somewhat of a pattern that would kind of resemble carbon fiber a little bit.
Right.
So, because that metallic is what's going to help kind of refract that light and make it show that pattern. But just your regular black nylon is good for hiding things. So
yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, if you got to hide a boo-boo, black nylon would be great for that. And that's in a sense unknowingly what you did. And that's, you know, it's not an issue. It's just something that, you know, we've all tried something, we've tested something and realized it didn't work. So it's part of rod building. It's not a big deal. Technically, if you wanted to, just come back over that section if you can, and you really probably don't even need to cut it off. I mean, if it's just a section in your split, you know, grip there, just come back in, put a little bit more mesh tape down, wrap another piece of metallic, and then just finish it and be done. You'll never know that anything was ever wrong.
Yep.
So that would be an option to fix that. So, you know, there you go.
Cool.
What do you think?
Let's see.
What are we going to give away now? What do we have?
We do
what
have
do we
the
have?
grand
What do we
prize
have?
winner.
What do we have? I'm thinking we're going to allow them to pick. So, this would be the HWS2 or we're going to do a TC4. What do you think about that?
Grand prize winner gets to pick.
Grand prize winner gets to pick. So That's what we got. What do you think? Grand prize winner choice of RBS TC4 or the HWS2. So TC4 here, HWS2 here, which is pretty much just your HWS1 with the TC4 on top of it. So depending on, what you prefer, either one of those is pretty sweet. Ready?
Danny Iberg.
Perfect. That's what I would have said. Cool. Danny Iberg. I think the guys in the back I think they like to get us.
They're setting this up for sure.
I think so too. So if your name is just like Chris Adams, maybe when you're watching the show, change it to something ridiculous. Yeah. You'll probably have a better chance of winning, maybe.
Absolutely.
I don't know. So anyway, we had Richard Ramage, Gary Gayer, and Danny Iberg are the big winners tonight. Slide into our DMs, of course. We will get you guys the products headed your way. And Hunter, we'll get you shopping tomorrow and get all that stuff on your credit card and shipped out.
Yeah.
So that's good.
I think there was one more question.
Scroll back up there real quick, Jay-Bird.
So John Wood asked, what equipment is included in the rod building class, and can you request a 7-foot blank for the class? I'll start with the second part of that question. John, we don't do a 7-foot blank for the class. We try to keep it, across the board, the same length rod, just so we're working with the same length grip, the same reel seat, etc.
We allow them to pick different things now, though, right?
Correct.
Okay.
There is an upgrade for the class, which you can do now. So it's an MHX blank upgrade. You can do a spinning or a casting. It's still a 6'6" blank.
Okay.
But you have the option of either staying with the standard CRB blank that the class comes with, including the price, or doing an upgrade. So that's the answer to that question.
Gotcha.
Now, the equipment that's included in the rod building class, you are going to get the hand wrapper.
HWS1.
HWS1 does not include the TC4 upgrade, but you're going to get the standard HWS1 hand wrapper. You're going to take that home with you.
The one I still use to this day.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. You're going to get a couple equipment, not really equipment, but a couple tools like burnishing tool, China marker, a couple of the smaller tools to take home with you.
Yep.
Thread, I think you get a spool of thread or two.
Yeah, because you get to choose. They let you pick, whatever spool color you want. You get a nylon metallic. Load the carriage up, and you're ready to go there. So take that with you. And everybody gets a catalog and a rod building book, DVD, and then of course the knowledge of the guys at the thing. I mean, there's 5, 6, 7 of them that go now.
Yeah,
I mean, I know Cindy was in here earlier. She goes to some of the classes. We got Todd, of course, Anthony. We got a couple other guest guys that go. I know you've been.
Yep,
I've been. It's a really great time. If you guys are one of the 2,000 members on the Mudhole Lives Rod Building Workshop page or the regular page, there are a bunch of pictures that some class attendees from the Dallas class, which is that's the one I went to a couple years ago. I'm telling you, if you're anywhere near Dallas, that's the one you need to go to. That's a great class. It's a fun class, great people, and it's in the Big D. So you gotta love Dallas. And everybody sent in, not everybody, but there was a number of pictures and stuff that came in. So you can see there, there's people with they wanted a color blank with a matching color reel seat, some of the MHX upgrades. So there's a few pictures there on the Facebook pages that have some of the new options that you can pick. You want to do a team color, you want to do an MHX, all that stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, John, you although like Hunter said, no 7-footers, but I'm telling you the 6'6" options that you have to choose from are about right.
Yep.
So they're good. So,
yeah, if you are thinking about a rod building class or thinking about giving away to your husband as a gift or cousin or friend, do it. It is the best $200, a little bit extra with the upgrade that you will spend, promise you.
Yeah, you go in on a Saturday, you leave Sunday, you get some advanced techniques on Sunday, and you leave with a fishing rod that you're ready to rock. Hit a pond on the way home and fish with it for a lifetime. So it's a really great option. So anyway, I think for a Tuesday night, that was a good show. Run a little long. I know Mom's been kind of thumping on the wall. Hot Pockets are ready. we need to get back upstairs. But thank you everybody for watching. Congrats to the winners. I know we got some stuff in the clearance section there at mudhole.com. If you guys want to watch some of these old shows, we've got them cataloged. We've also got them on the YouTube channel. This is episode 43, so whew, crazy. But anyway, for the whole team here, Nikki Mintz, Jay Boy, we got Taylor and Guffey in the back. As always, the man with the plan, Hunter McCamey. Thank you guys for watching us, and we'll see y'all in a month.
See you next time.
Take care.